Hello and welcome to Day 3 of PRI in Person 2024. I'm Emily West, your digital host, and we're coming to you live from the PRI studio in the exhibition hall here at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. For our final day in the studio, we're bringing you 3 exclusive Q&A sessions, as well as live plenaries and breakout A sessions. The full programme is being recorded and is available for you to watch on demand 24 to 48 hours after each session ends. You can always check the agenda at any time by choosing agenda on the navigation bar and choose PRI in Person-Digital. And so to start Day 3, I am delighted to welcome our guests to the studio. Joining me this morning, I have Alyson Slater, Managing Director and Head of Sustainable Investment for Manulife Investment Management. I have Markus Lindqvist, Director of Sustainability for Aktia Bank, and Rose Easton, PRI's Chief Responsible Investments Ecosystems Officer. Welcome to you all.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now to kick us off, we're actually going to have a poll for you, our live audience. You can find the poll on Slido on the right-hand side of your screen. This is what we want to know from you. Which topics on today's agenda are you most looking forward to? And we're going to come back to the results shortly. But let's start by reflecting on yesterday. A lot happened. I mean, there was, more content than anyone could attend. Alyson, what left the biggest impression on you yesterday?
Well, being from the host country, of course, we were waiting with great anticipation to find out what the government might announce on related to responsible investment here in Canada. So thrilled to hear Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland announce that they are going forward with the transition taxonomy for Canada, something that will help define what counts as a green and what counts as a transition investment. So this is something that was highly anticipated and we're welcome with open arms. Secondly, they did announce their support for alignment with the global baseline ISSB standards here in Canada. I mean, they don't have a lot of oversight powers on the private sector, but they do. There are federally regulated private institutions which will now be expected to report against the ISSB standards. So I welcomed both of those announcements from the government yesterday.
Yeah, big announcements. And if you missed Christia's speech, it was fantastic and you can watch it on demand. So definitely, I think, worth a watch.
Absolutely.
Markus, how about you? What was your biggest moment from yesterday?
Well, usually I would pick one of the more narrower themes in one of the breakout sessions, but I'm going to make an exception and I'll highlight the last plenary session on investor action on climate, and it was framed as a debate. So I think it was really insightful, educational, and also a fun way to keep the people in the room at the end of day 2.
Yes, and it was a terrific debate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were delighted to have the people speaking on that debate come and join us for a live Q&A afterwards. So we kept that conversation going. Rose, how about you?
Well, it has to be the announcements made. I think at the PRI, one of the things we obviously try to do is ensure there is that right sort of enabling policy support for responsible investment. So we're obviously delighted, and there was a lot of work done by the PRI as well to work with the government to do that. So we were absolutely thrilled. Because obviously policy making drives that change forward. I think Mark Carney as well. I mean, he's such a great orator at the best of times, but just hearing his positivity on the transition. And I think it was also really important that he put forward those views around how important it is that corporates have those strong transition plans in place. And there was that whole theme around, I think, the transition and the decarbonisation. I was actually moderating a panel yesterday, and the conclusions, it was around generating alpha from sustainability. And one of the conclusions was actually that's where you can get investment returns. If you stay invested and work with the companies on their transitions, on their decarbonisation, actually ultimately that's probably where there's opportunity to make money. So yeah. It was a fantastic day yesterday.
It really was, and it's so fantastic to hear about these really positive conversations that are really focused on solutions and moving forward. I don't know about you, but it's felt like an incredibly positive conference from our side here in the studio. Yeah. So let's hear from our guests. We had a poll for you, the topics you're most interested in today's agenda. And by far the biggest winner is how to build climate risk resilient portfolios. So that's really interesting. That's what our audience are most interested in. So looking forward today, Alyson, starting with you, what are you most excited about on today's agenda?
I know for me the biggest questions I have is around AI. I think a lot of us are thinking about that. We realize AI is going to disrupt our economy, every sector of our society going forward in the next couple of decades. We just don't know how. So there's a session today on AI through that responsible investment lens, and I think that's something I know I'm looking forward to learning all about. I'll be there.
And that session will be recorded, so you can watch that on catch up if you can't join us in person for it. Markus?
I'm going to give my vote to the second breakout session in the stream A, the climate stream, that will combine both climate and biodiversity issues ahead of the COP 16 and 29 meetings. So I think it's important to look at the not only separately climate and biodiversity, but combine those and solve it, because they need to be solved together. So.
And why do you think it is so important that we have conversations about those two things together?
Well, I think it's becoming clear that they cannot be solved separately. They are so, interlocked or connected. So I think it's important to have a broader nature discussion instead of a separate climate and biodiversity discussion.
Fantastic, thank you. Rose, what are you most looking forward to?
Similarly, I think that discussion on COP16, COP29 is really, really important. I'm hoping to hear from Her Excellency, Razan Al Mubarak. She's done amazing work in the UAE, working with the government there on protecting wildlife across the UAE. So looking forward to listening to her. And I think that conversation, there's a last plenary as well, which I think is a really nicely, it's going to also be on nature, pricing natural assets, stewardship in nature. And I think that's a nice segue into COP30. Obviously there's going to be a lot of very interesting things happening in Brazil next year. So, that's
fantastic. So, a really nice forward-looking way to end the conference here.
Yeah. And look, I'm looking forward to actually hearing what the wrap-up's going to be, because I think, as you were just saying about content, the PRI, we really try to make sure the content is as broad as it can be, but also I've had so many nice comments around, it's really nice, but it's not just sort of blah, 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 everyone talking about it. It's actually about the doing, the action and the implementation. So that's been really good to hear. So I'm looking forward to that sort of wrap up at the end.
Absolutely, and there has been just so much content, but remember, you can watch it all on demand. So if you've missed anything over the last 3 days, make sure to go back and watch. There have been so many great sessions. We don't want you to miss any of it. That's everything we've got time for, but we're going to be coming back to you later with another Q&A. And shortly we'll be going to the plenary for a session discussing how to build resilient portfolios for the new climate normal, adaptation, mitigation and resilience.